On my 21st birthday, my dad raised his glass and said, "Some kids make you proud. Others just take up space." Everyone laughed. I smiled and said, "Good thing I just got my own place 2,000 miles away. Don't worry, you'll never have to deal with my space again." I'm 29, an HR manager who can read a room in 5 seconds and write a performance plan in 10. Middle child, oldest son, the responsible one since I learned to tie my shoes. I schedule doctor appointments, memorize deadlines, remember everyone's birthdays. If my family were a company, I'd be the unpaid operations team. People at work know me as calm. My family knows me as useful. I grew up in Phoenix in a house that always smelled like lemon cleaner and expectation. Dad runs a small roofing outfit. Mom keeps the books and the family narrative. My older sister, Kelsey, shines. My younger brother, Evan, crashes and gets a parade for surviving. I learned early that asking for help was the same as admitting failure. So I stopped asking. I keep things simple. Gym at 6 o'clock, coffee black, phone on do not disturb until 8. My apartment is clean, my emails have labels, and my rent is paid on the 1st. It's not exciting, but it's stable. Stability feels like oxygen when you grew up in a house where money was a mood. I used to think if I worked hard enough, my family would eventually treat me like more than a spare wallet. That belief didn't break all at once. It chipped small pieces, like when Mom accidentally slipped my credit card at Costco because hers was in the other purse, or when Dad said, "Pitch in for Evan's tires. Don't be the only one who doesn't," and then sent me a Venmo request for the full amount. The night the truth finally showed its teeth was my 21st birthday. We were at a restaurant with shiny menus and wobbly chairs, balloons tied to the back of my seat like I was 10. I'd just gotten an offer for an HR internship 2 states away. I was scared and proud in equal parts. Dad lifted his glass. He smiled at the table like a foreman inspecting work he didn't plan to pay for, and said, "Some kids make you proud, others just take up space." The table laughed, not a big laugh, a quick automatic one, the kind you do to keep the peace. Kelsey hid her smile in her napkin. Evan smirked at his phone. Mom patted my shoulder and said, "Oh, Tom," like it was a joke he didn't mean. I smiled back, even though my ears were ringing. I said, "Good thing I just got my own place 2,000 miles away." I pushed my chair back. "Don't worry, you'll never." I didn't finish. The server arrived with a cake that said "Beer I Am" because someone misread the form, and I blew out the candles in one breath thinking I'm leaving. I'm leaving, and I'm not coming back for a long time. The first real trigger, though, wasn't the toast. It was the way Mom whispered while I was cutting the cake. "We'll talk about the card later. Honey, just be flexible." I didn't know which card. I would find out. And that's when the money stopped being a background hum and became the whole song. I moved to Seattle 6 weeks later. Studio apartment that smelled like old paint and pretzels. HR internship with a real badge. I bought a used couch off Marketplace and a lamp that leaned like it needed therapy. It was mine. I called Mom to give the new address. She said, "Proud of you, baby." Then quick thing, your student loan autopay bounced. "Can you check?" I didn't have autopay. I opened my bank app. A charge I didn't recognize. Sun Valley Utilities, Phoenix. $286.74. I called her back. "What's Sun Valley Utilities?" "Oh," she said too fast. "They wouldn't put the account in Evan's name because of, so we used yours for now. It's temporary. You use my social silence." "Then you're so dramatic. We needed the account on your family." I wrote the word temporary on a sticky note and slapped it on my laptop. In HR, words like temporary always come with an end date we can point to. In my family, temporary was a vibe. The internship became a full-time role. I did onboarding packets, coached 2 managers through a probation plan, and learned how to say that's outside scope without sounding like a wall. I sent money home for emergencies. Evan's fender bender. The dog's surgery. A small payroll gap at Dad's shop. Mom would text, "We'll pay you back on Friday." Friday came and went. New emergency, new promise. I could chart the cycle like a weather map. At 23, I got promoted to HR generalist. My manager high-fived me in the hallway and said, "You're a stabilizer, Brian." I screenshotted the email and sent it to the family chat. "Kelsey, yay, Mom. So proud. Speaking of stability, your father's dental work is due Monday. Dad, just spot us. I'll Zelle you." Evan sent a thumbs-up emoji like he'd contributed. I pushed back softly. "I have my own bills." Mom replied, "You always make everything about money." I stared at that line for a long time. I was the one making it about money. I let it go like always. A year later, the little cracks widened. I went home for Thanksgiving. By then, I was running performance calibrations, building compensation bands, and quietly Venmoing my parents in amounts that would make my coworkers blink. The house looked the same, but didn't. New refrigerator, new TV, a stack of unopened mail on the counter like a monument. Mom hugged me and whispered, "You look skinny." I said I was fine. She said, "You always say that after you've lost weight." Like it was a personal insult. After dinner, Dad handed me a folder. "We've been thinking. It's time to put your name on the business." I opened the folder. It was a loan application for $65,000. I laughed because that's what I do when I want to scream. "You're joking." Mom touched my forearm. "It's a guarantee, sweetie. Not even real money. I work in HR, not finance, but I can read. This is very real. Family helps family," Dad said. "Family also asks," I said. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "You want me to beg my own son?" I closed the folder. "I want you to treat me like more than a walking credit score." We didn't sign anything that night. But when I got back to Seattle and logged into Credit Karma, there was a hard inquiry I didn't recognize. Same bank on the folder. My stomach dropped through the floor. I called Mom. No answer. I called again. She picked up on the fifth ring. Brian, airy voice. "I'm in line at Costco. Did you apply for a business loan with my info?" "Don't be rude." "Did you?" Another pause. "We needed to keep the crew through winter. We were going to tell you." I sat on my kitchen floor and looked at my refrigerator at the sticky note that still said temporary curling at the edges. I said, "This is illegal. No one is suing anyone. We're family." What I learned in HR, people say we're family when they want you to work late without pay. I froze my credit, filed a report. The bank flagged the application. Mom texted the family chat. "Brian is acting like a stranger." Kelsey sent Mom. "He's just careful." Evan wrote, "We get it. Brian's better than us." I didn't respond. Months passed. I lowered contact and saved money. Mom would call and talk like nothing had happened. "How's the weather? How's work?" Then she'd slide in a request like a stray cat. "The mortgage cleared a day late, but it's fine. Can you just, handle it? We'll pay you back Friday." Always Friday. I started keeping a spreadsheet. Date, amount, reason given, status. I colored the paid column in green. It stayed mostly gray. At 26, I became HR manager. Benefits now lived under me. So did employee relations and a stack of dull binders labeled policy. I loved it anyway. Order, clarity, process. At the same time, my family life became the opposite. Demand, ambiguity, gaslight. They called it help. I called it bleeding out quietly. The mini breaking point came through a group chat. Actually, Kelsey announced her engagement. The chat exploded. Confetti, champagne, 50 exclamation points from Mom. Within an hour, Mom started assigning costs. "Brian can book the venue deposit. Brian's good with numbers. He'll handle the caterer retainer." I watched the messages roll by like I was scrolling a bill I never approved. I typed, "I'll send a gift." That's it. "Mom, don't be selfish." Evan, "Bro, it's her only wedding." Me, "Hard to be selfish with my own money." Mom called immediately. "I don't recognize you anymore." "You never looked," I said. She sniffed. "After all we've done, the roof over your head, the rides to practice, the food. Do you want a receipt for your childhood?" I said, "Funny, you should ask," and opened my spreadsheet. I didn't send it. Not then, but the file existed. It grew. One night in bed, I scrolled through line after line. 286.74 utilities, 900. Evan tires, 1,100. 2-week payroll float, 250.00 dog meds, 1,500.00 Kelsey's dress deposit, 700.00 surprise, dental 300.00, Evan court fees, 20.00 roof materials, 1,200. Tax shortfall, 87 entries for greens. I fell asleep with my phone on my chest and woke up to 3 missed calls from Mom and a text. "We need to talk about Kelsey's honeymoon flights." Of course we did. I kept giving little pieces. I kept telling myself I was choosing it. That made it feel less like theft. And then came the day that reset the board. Dad had a family dinner, which meant ambush. I went anyway because I still believed in some quiet math that said showing up would eventually equal being seen. We ate overcooked chicken and 2 sweet iced tea. Halfway through, Dad cleared his throat. "We're proud of your career," he said. though he said career like it had quotation marks. Thanks, I said. He smiled, the same smile from my 21st. We're expanding. 2 new trucks. We'll put you on the paperwork so the bank feels safe. Mom reached over, squeezed my hand. I said no this time, and the whole room went cold. Evan leaned back, laughing. Here we go. Mom said families don't forge signatures. Dad's jaw tightened and told me to watch my mouth. I stood so my hands wouldn't shake and told them I froze my credit. Anything opened in my name would be reported. Mom snapped, to who? I said, the police. 2 days later, I got a mandatory calendar invite for a family finance meeting. I showed up dressed like I do when I have to fire someone. Clean, neutral, no tie, and brought my laptop because facts hit harder when they glow on a screen. Kelsey sat poised with her perfect hair and flashing ring. Evan slouched on the couch scrolling TikTok. Mom offered cookies like sugar fixes fraud, and Dad stood there like I was a delinquent employee. They said they'd carried the family, and it was my turn to step up, but I mirrored my spreadsheet to the TV. Every dollar they'd asked for, every excuse, every unpaid debt. I scrolled through the dates. Payroll floats, Evan's tires, utilities, tax shortages, court fees, roof materials, dog meds, deposits. Mom demanded to know why I was keeping score, and I told her she taught me numbers mattered. Dad accused me of thinking I was better because I worked at a desk. I said I just wasn't a bank. Then I pulled up the PDF, the fraud alert, the blocked application, the timeline. Dad realized I knew. He said I was overreacting. I said forging my name wasn't a reaction problem. Mom asked if I'd send my own father to jail. I said I'd protect myself. Dad tried to humiliate me. Some kids make you proud, others just take up space. And Evan laughed while Mom waited for my apology. Instead, I placed an envelope on the table, a boundary letter, bullet-pointed like policy. Starting immediately, no more funding their business, no co-signing, no paying Evan's fines or anyone's deposits, no assuming responsibility for anything. If they opened accounts in my name, I'd report it. If they harassed my work number, I'd block it. Mom insisted I couldn't do this, and I told her I was simply stopping what they were doing to me. Evan warned me not to come crying when I needed family, and I reminded him I'd only ever sent money. Kelsey looked scared, mostly for her wedding plans, and asked about the deposit. I told her I'd send a blender. Dad repeated his line about proud kids. I told him some adults just take up space in your banking app, and walked out into the too bright sun with shaking hands and a clear head. The week after was loud on my phone, but quiet in my mind. Mom called 12 times, then texted, I forgive you, then, you're not well, then tried to schedule a Friday talk like always. I muted the family chat. My therapist said I'd set a boundary and tolerated the reaction. Work felt lighter. I handled conflicts, wrote performance plans, actually took lunches outside. Then fallout reached Kelsey. She said Mom canceled the florist, and I told her Mom wanted her to pressure me. Kelsey finally admitted things had always been like this, like when Dad made me give Evan my car, Evan totaled it, and I apologized for being upset. She said she might scale down the wedding and was looking at apartments. We talked about leaving, staying, and trying to find space in your own head. Meanwhile, Mom called everyone in the extended family claiming I was abandoning them. My aunt texted to ask if I was okay, and when I said I just wasn't funding the family anymore, she said she was proud of me. Dad didn't call. He posted a meme about ungrateful kids. Evan sent snake emojis and a bar video captioned, "Real family takes care of each other." I ignored it. 2 nights later, he called at 1:02 a.m. I woke up to my dad's voicemail asking for $200, then another saying I was dead to him. I stopped carrying other people's emergencies, and life got lighter. I started boxing with a coworker, went to a neighbor's game night, finally pitched a project at work that people actually used, and began saving money without anyone asking for it. When my mom tried guilt-tripping me, I held firm boundaries. At lunch, she called me cold. I told her I was clear. I stopped engaging with manipulative texts and only replied with information. My sister Kelsey stopped asking for money, planned a beautiful backyard wedding, and I sent her a gift and support. Months later, my brother Evan called sober, ready to ask for rent, but stopped himself. I guided him to a workforce center instead of fixing it for him, and 2 weeks later he had a job. Slowly, I built a life with quiet Sundays, boxing gloves, a bookshelf, and a trip I took just for me. My family chat stayed muted until Kelsey got her own lease. A year later, we met and talked like real siblings. When I finally faced my parents, I told them I wasn't better than them. I was better to myself. I wasn't angry, and I wasn't paying. Back home, I logged one last entry. $0. Boundary kept. I'm not a wallet with legs, and family isn't an all-access pass to my peace. Boundaries don't make you cruel. They make you whole.